You've got artificial intelligence in your phone, in your car. Maybe it's even helping you write emails right now. It really makes you wonder, right? Are there any limits to what it can do?
Hey everyone, and welcome to Computer Science Made Easy. For decades, we've heard all these bold predictions about what AI will never be able to do. And guess what? Most of those predictions, well, they turned out to be wrong. So today, we're going to demystify the whole thing. What AI can do, what it can't do, and where it's all headed.
So let's kick things off with this really provocative idea. The growth in AI over the last few years has just been explosive, right? It's jumped out of the research labs and straight into our daily lives. Things that we thought were impossible are now, well, they're just normal. Sure, there are still limits, but history has a pretty clear lesson for us here.
All right, so here is our game plan. First, we're going to tackle what intelligence even is. Then we'll look at the limits AI has already completely smashed through. After that, we'll get into the challenges we're facing today, take a little peek into the future, and wrap up by talking about how humans and AI are going to work together.
All right, let's get into it. What is AI's real potential? See, to even begin to talk about AI's limits, we've got to have a solid framework for what intelligence actually means. This is going to set the stage for everything else we discuss. And this right here is a fantastic way to think about it, the DIKQ pyramid. It stands for data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. So you start at the bottom with just raw data, unorganized facts, like a bunch of numbers, 10, 6, 42, 8. Kind of meaningless on its own, right? But then you add context. Let's say those are the ages of people in a room. Now you have information. Then you interpret that information, like, hey, most of the people in this room are under 21. Boom, that's knowledge. And honestly, this is where AI is an absolute superstar right now. But that final step, that's wisdom. It's about applying that knowledge to make a good decision. Like, okay, so let's play some age-appropriate games. And that's the real holy grail.
Okay, so keeping that pyramid in mind, let's talk about some of the things that used to be pure science fiction, but are now just, part of our everyday lives.
If you go back a few decades, experts were drawing all these lines in the sand, saying, here are the things AI will never be able to do. They were talking about stuff like complex reasoning, really understanding human language, having genuine creativity, and perceiving the world in real time. So, how did those impossible limits hold up? Well, let's take a look. First up, complex reasoning. For ages, chess was held up as the ultimate benchmark of human intellect. But then, way back in 1997, a machine beat the world's grandmaster. Checkmate. So, what about natural language? Human language is messy, it's full of puns and sarcasm and nuance, it's really hard. And yet, in 2011, an AI crushed it on the game show Jeopardy, understanding all that tricky wordplay. That milestone basically paved the way for the incredible generative AI we have today. Then there's the big one, creativity. The old argument was that AI can only imitate, it can't create anything truly new. But is that true? Today's AI can generate brand new art, music, and stories. You could argue it's learning from its influences, but hey, don't human artists do the same thing? And finally, real-time perception. Just think about self-driving cars. They have to see the world around them, predict what other drivers are going to do, and react in a split second. So yeah, all those hard limits, they're pretty much in our rearview mirror now.
Okay, so if all that stuff is in the past, what's happening right now? Let's shift gears and talk about the big challenges that AI researchers are wrestling with as we speak. Okay, let's talk about something a bit more human. Emotional intelligence, or EQ. Now, modern AI is getting scary good at understanding and responding to our moods. It can give this amazing appearance of empathy. But here's the key. It can simulate it incredibly well. But is it genuine? Achieving real, true emotional intelligence? Well, that's still very much a work in progress. And this kind of leads us to one of the biggest weird side effects of today's generative AI, something called hallucinations. This is when an AI just makes stuff up, but it does it with total confidence. It'll state something that's completely wrong or nonsensical as if it's a solid fact. See, it's always just trying to predict the next logical word. And when it gets it right, it feels like magic. But when it gets it wrong, it can be spectacularly, confidently wrong. So you might be asking, what are we doing about this? Well, the good news is people are actively working on it. There are some really clever techniques being used. One is called retrieval augmented generation. Think of it like giving the AI an open book test. Instead of just relying on its memory, it gets to look up extra relevant information first. Then there's the mixture of experts approach, which is kind of like having a team of different specialists. You ask a math question, you get the math AI. You ask a history question, you get the history AI.
And finally, there's chaining, where you basically have different AIs checking each other's work to verify the answer. Look, it's not a perfectly solved problem yet, but we are making some serious progress.
All right, that's the here and now. So let's zoom out. Let's look way ahead to the final frontiers. We're talking the big, long-term, sometimes even philosophical challenges for AI. So what are these next big hurdles? Well, they really run the gamut from the super technical to the deeply philosophical. First, you've got the big one, artificial general intelligence, or AGI. This is the idea of an AI that is just as smart and capable as a human across every single domain, not just one specific task. Then there's a really practical problem, sustainability. These models are incredibly powerful, but they use a ton of energy. We need to figure out how to make them more efficient. And then you get into the really mind-bending stuff. Can an AI ever be truly conscious? Can it be self-aware? The list just keeps going. Can it have true judgment and wisdom, that top level of our pyramid? What about just plain old common sense, that gut feeling we humans have about how the world works? And can it ever feel deep emotions, or will it only ever be a simulation? These, right here, are the grand challenges that will define the future of AI.
So with all this incredible technology and all these huge challenges, it begs the question, where do we fit in all of this? And that brings us perfectly to our final section, thinking about a future where humans and AI work together. I think this slide really nails it. The best way to think about our roles is like this. We, the humans, we're in charge of the what and the why. It's our job to set the big picture goals, to provide the purpose, the meaning, and most importantly, the ethical guardrails. The AI? It's the master of how. You give it a destination and it figures out the fastest, most optimized way to get there. It automates the complex stuff, freeing us up to focus on the big questions. And that really brings us full circle, back to that quote from the beginning. If you look at the history of this field, it was slow, steady progress for a long, long time, and then suddenly an explosion. Every time someone confidently stood up and drew a line in the sand, saying AI will never be able to do this, they've almost always been proven wrong. So if there's one big takeaway from all of this, it's pretty simple. Don't bet against AI.
All right, before you go, it is quiz time. Thinking back to that pyramid we talked about, what is the final, ultimate stage of applied knowledge? Is it A, information, B, knowledge, C, wisdom, or D, data? Let me know what you think. Drop your answer down in the comments below.
Seriously, post your answer below. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching this explainer. If you enjoyed it and want more deep dives into the tech that's literally shaping our world, make sure you subscribe to Computer Science Made Easy. We'll see you in the next one.